Howdy YouTube. Just a quick little update video on the Ezarcher project. I've done another respin of the ISOs just the other day. I know I just released ISOs on the 2nd of July. It's now the 9th or 10th depending on when this gets uploaded. And I decided to respin them again. The reason this time being a few things came up. One, I hadn't tested the Ezarcher install scripts in a while, and when I did, I noticed there were some problems with the networking software selection. And since no one had noticed it or mentioned it, and I hadn't noticed it, I decided to move the Ezarcher install scripts and the guides to old labeled folders, take them out of commission, probably for good, but at least for a little while. If I get the time to revisit them and fix them up, make them work again, I will. But for the time being, they're no longer in the executable path, no longer something I recommend or even mention in the descriptions on my project pages here. The SourceForge page is up and running. It's got updated about 12 hours ago. The archive.org site is also up to date as well. So the Ezarcher project is now the July 8th release. I've been working at getting the osdn.net page sorted out, but osdn.net, their servers must have some issues today. I spent most of the day battling 502 bad gateway errors when trying to navigate between the screens. I managed to get some of the documentation updated, the project description. I managed to get a few of the project files, most of them up, none of the ISOs, and only 2 new images. So eventually, when osdn.net gets their server act together, I will update the project page there as well. In the meantime, you need to rely on SourceForge or archive.org. Just search for Eznix or Ezarcher should it come up. SourceForge is always linked. The project pages are always linked from my video descriptions. Maybe I'll start including the archive.org project page as well. I cleaned up all the descriptions here. I cleaned up the ISO directory. It's now just the current ISO directory labeled ISO. And people are finding it already. Not surprised. The project files folder is populated with the new project files, all the tar files, containing all of the documentation and build files necessary to build my system. Updated the README as well. Let's take a quick peek at the running system here. I have it installed in VirtualBox, the Xfce desktop. I've already run some updates, new versions of, I believe the firmware was recompiled, Linux firmware, all those packages. I think the only real change with that update today in the firmware packages, they've recompressed all the firmware with ZSTD rather than Xfce, I think it was previously. So just a slightly better, faster compression ratio there, algorithm. So if we take a look at the documentation folder, we have, as I mentioned, the old install guides, the old install scripts. Neither one are updated or working completely. If you want to take a stab at it, go right ahead. Eventually, as I said, I will try to sort those out. The scripts folder now just contains the EasyMate script as well as the Grub install script. Now this script has seen some improvement. Let's open it up here with Guinea and take a look. So the old script, what it did was it tested for EFI system, and if it found it, it ran one grub install command. If it didn't find it, it would run the other grub install command, calling the location from what was this sole function, which is the find mount command, and cut down to the first 8 characters. Now, I did that assuming that a BIOS system would not be booting from an NVMe drive. I do not have any NVMe drives to test this on. However, after some research, I found out that BIOS or legacy BIOS settings will boot NVMe drives on some motherboards. So I made my script, the grub install.sh script, a little more resilient to detect whether the system is running on an NVMe drive and create the lrdev variable, which is passed to the grub install command, cutting the first 12 characters to accommodate for the device name of an NVMe drive. If it doesn't find that the text NVMe appears in the output of the find mount command, it assumes it's a SATA drive and only gathers the first 8 characters and assigns that to the variable. So either way, this variable will either be an NVMe device or a SATA device, depending on the test up here. So hopefully this makes this little script a bit more resilient to different setups. Now, the one big assumption I make is that the installation target for Grub is on the same device as the root file system. This may or may not apply to you. It applies to me most of the time, if not all the time. I always have my root file system on the drive that I want Grub installed on. If you are dual booting, especially multiple disks, you have Windows on one drive, Linux on another, this may not apply to you. If you have multiple disks with multiple Linux distributions, this may not apply to you. Before you utilize my script, you need to know if your use case fits into my assumption of where the Grub installation is to happen in relation to the root file system. Hopefully that's clear. If it's not clear, you really should not use this if you don't know your system well enough to make sure it's going to work. That was the big change with this script. Now, the way this is utilized, the way I would utilize it, is with a Pacman hook. Now, the way I do that is described in my documents in the grub update hook.txt file. Let's open that up. First part of this file, text file, describes how to create a Pacman hook to update Grub. Well, to reinstall Grub to the device when the package is updated. It entails creating a hook file, copying these contents into that hook file. You'll notice the execute command executes my Grub install script. And this is to happen whenever the Grub package is upgraded. Hopefully that's clear. So the way to do this simply is to copy this command. Let's open up a terminal. Let's make it a little bigger here. Copy the command. It will want our sudo password. Let's take the text of the file, copy that, and it asks if we really want to copy it into the terminal program here. Control O to write out the file, Control X to close. And that's it. Now whenever pacman is run and grub is updated, the grub install.sh script will run. Very easy to do. That's about it, folks. The rest of it is just normal updates. Another side benefit of respinning the ISOs at the moment is the newer kernel, which does seem to fix a few problems for some people. We're running on kernel 6.4.2, and hopefully that fixes some issues that the 6.4.1 kernel introduced for some people. And that's it, folks. If you want, go grab one of the new ISOs or all of them. Go look at the project files if you wish. Check back with osdn.net at some later date, hopefully when they're working. And take care, stay safe, have fun. Bye-bye.